Welcome to the Marketing Revolution Podcast. This is the underground movement of savage marketers from all over the world. We are not Fortune 500 companies. We are real entrepreneurs with real businesses that have one major thing in mind: to set goals and devour them daily. Because we understand that everyone wants to eat, but only savage marketers are willing to do the hunt. Now let's get this revolution started. Hey, what's up, everybody? John Hiley here with the Marketing Revolution Podcast, chilling with your co-host, Angela Hiley.
Hey.
So I hope everybody's having a wonderful week out there. And we are currently just closing out our podcast series on persuasion. You know, of course, we're going to be talking a lot about that, but I want to give you guys an additional resource. I had recently read the book Influence by Robert Cialdini. What's interesting about it is Robert actually had wrote this book to help people from being scammed by companies that were going door to door or were selling like Amway type products, all of that pyramid scheme stuff that we had going on for quite a long time is exactly why the book was written. But the interesting thing about it is the only people that started to read it were the marketers. And what had happened, it was a detailed psychological study on persuasion. But what I want you guys to understand is there's a big difference between right and wrong. Okay, so anything can be used for right or wrong. If you got a gun, you can use it to kill somebody, or you can use it to save somebody's life. Or you might be a police officer and you're using it to save a community. Or you may be a criminal using it to rob a store. So there are always two sides of the spectrum. You know, you've got love, you've got lust. They look a lot alike, but they're quite different in nature. So what I want you to keep in mind is...
Those marketing pyramid things are still going on today.
Oh, well, sure. Yeah, of course.
One of the big ones, I think, is that... what is it?
Well, technically, they're not a pyramid. They're multi-level now. They stopped...
Yeah.
I want to say that it's either 2 or 3 tiers that you have to stop at, opposed to when they were pyramids, they would go through like 10 tiers of people, or how many ever would begin getting commission.
But
and
it's
stuff
still
like
the
that.
same thing, though.
Yeah, it does have a common, a common thing. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying all of them are bad. I mean, it literally...
there's Beachbody out there. That's
Sure.
one of them.
Well, I think that, it just depends. Is it helping people?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say if it's helping people, if it's a win-win, that's a type of relationship that we want to enter into.
Yeah.
Meaning that if I persuade you to buy my services and you win by purchasing them, then we both win. So I receive your money, you receive my services or my products or my multi-level marketing package.
Yeah.
And we both win together.
Yeah.
When it becomes fraud is when I get your money and you get nothing in return.
That's true.
So, I just want you guys to keep in mind that, and that's what a lot of the marketers realize today, because any company that is scamming, if you're planning on scamming somebody, or if you're planning on selling something that's a bunch of hype and it's an inferior product, you're just not going to last that long.
Do you know of one that's done that?
Yeah, I would say an inferior product that was really hyped up. I mean, they're out there everywhere. I mean, nowadays, you really can't get away with it because of consumer reviews. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could just go look on Amazon and look through some of the products and take a look at some of the reviews, and you can see the ones that are seriously lacking in major departments. Mm-hmm. And they are getting the community support that they deserve. Mm-hmm. So with this day and age, I think it's a lot harder.
Compared to like maybe back in the 90s?
Of course. Yeah, back in the 90s, I don't think, well, of course, we didn't have the voice. We didn't have the internet. I mean, we had like AOL chat rooms, right? But that didn't really scale onto a review system, stuff like that.
Though.
Right. It's very interesting. I mean, I don't think we've ever met a time where the consumer is in such control of their purchasing. I mean, we Google everything. We
Wasn't there-
Amazon everything.
Wasn't there one back in the early 90s? What was it called? Was it Amway or...
Yeah, Amway.
But didn't they sell like beauty products and...
I think Amway sold about anything for your household. It was almost like a Procter and
I
Gamble.
had family members that did that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was a big thing. I mean, it was a big thing. It's almost like it's became like a bad word now. Really. I mean, as soon as you hear it. Actually, I met a friend. I was talking to you remember Jeffrey Ireland. We met him out in California back in the day, and. He came up for a little while. He was actually
He's from
said
Florida,
that,
right?
Yeah, I guess he got caught in
Okay.
one of them. He got guy came around, was really hyping up this thing, and it was like this secret, that he was going to be revealing at this hotel event, and he's going to
Yeah.
be teaching everybody this thing and how they're going to be able to make all this money. And Jeffrey ended up attending it, and he said literally the whole room was hyped up, and this guy was motivating people. And as soon as he said the word Amway, he says you could hear a literal like a pin drop in the room. I mean, you could hear a needle hit the floor in the room. Everybody just got dead on quiet, and then random people started standing up and leaving, which caused a crowd surge, and other people started following
Is
them.
that company still in business?
Oh God, I would think so. They ended up becoming they were a massive operation.
Yeah.
I mean, the owner of that thing, the guy who created Amway, definitely is probably still doing very, very well today. Mm-hmm. I would imagine. So can't hate on it. Can't hate on the idea. Whatever. I haven't even really looked into it that much. So
I wonder if their products are any good or if they were crappy.
that I don't know. But we're gonna move on from that. And so check out the book if you guys want to take a look at it. It is from Robert Cialdini. The book's name is Influence. It's on Audible. I like to listen to my books. So if you're a busy entrepreneur and you're listening to music all day, guess what? Spend half the day, unplug that music, plug in a book, and get educated on something you're interested in. Or keep listening to my podcast. That'd be even better. So I want to talk a little bit today about vision boards, and I also want to talk about the power of faith, how you can kind of how you can actually get that movement, get that faith moving in your life, okay? And I'm not necessarily, when people hear the word faith, they think that I'm talking about the religious faith. Like I'm talking about the faith that they talk about in a church. I mean, and yes, you know what? That's the same faith that I'm talking about, but faith can be applied to anything in your life. It's just a belief, a strong belief that something is about to happen for you, and you believe in it. You maintain faith. You maintain that that walk towards whatever it is, whatever that big promise in your life is. You maintain that walk towards that big promise. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a huge thing, right? Because how many times do people give up because they have no faith that it's going to work out for them, or whatever a promise they feel is ahead of them or is going to be delivered into their life? They honestly feel that they've been rejected a few times and it's not there. Mm-hmm. Well, then that means they lose their faith and they end up, the dream ends up dying, right? Mm-hmm. When they may have only been one step away from getting, creating that business, doing whatever they were going to do, okay? Building their business, landing that big account, whatever it is that you have in mind, that you're walking towards, that you're building towards, whatever that is, you got to maintain faith to get there, or else you simply give up, okay? Mm-hmm. I want to say I heard a story that it was something like 95% of first-time businesses fail in America. But then they said something to the nature that only 5% of second-time businesses fail. So people that pick up from their first failure and then come back and open a second business have like a 95% rate of success. Mm-hmm. Okay? But it's just the people that get discouraged and down on their big failure, right? I could say that during our business, there was a lot of times that, I don't know if you want to call it borderline failure, but we were just borderline on the edge of just getting by.
Yep.
And, I'm going to talk about, one of them times here in a little while, a little further into the podcast. But I want to clear up something about the vision board. The vision board, a lot of people think that if they stand there and just stare at a board. She bumped her elbow. So if they just stand there and stare at a board, they ended up, they found a bunch of shit that they want, and they cut out some photos or printed out some photos and put it on this board, and if they just stand there and stare at it, that it's going to make the things come to them. All right? So these things are going to magically start tingling. And I honestly really believe that the movie The Secret is where they got it. It was basically where they got it wrong. I liked the movie, and I watched it several times.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. And I liked a lot of the people that were in it. Bob Proctor, John, whatever his name is. I can never, Azaraffer or whatever. But anyhow, look, I like them guys. I honestly, I like the movie. But the one place where they got it wrong was where they actually was trying to convince people that they could stand there and look at something, visualize it, and it would come towards them. Okay? And I would say one of the very first people that had ever brought the vision board to mind. Okay, I knew that was immediately wrong when I seen that in the movie, by the way, because I had listened to Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich for years, and I'm not kidding, guys. Every time I got in my truck for 2 years solid, I listened to Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich all day long for 2 years straight. That's not a lie. That's what it took to change my mentality to what it is today. Okay, I knew that I had to ingrain these principles into my mind. Mm-hmm. If you guys don't know who Napoleon Hill is, Andrew Carnegie basically ended up having him do a project for him where he would study over 200 people, 200 of the wealthiest people in the world, and find common traits so he could put together or deliver a message that would teach people exactly how to be successful if they develop these common traits and these common habits of all of these successful people, including Henry Ford, including Rockefeller, including Andrew Carnegie himself. Mm-hmm. So I would say at the end, one of Napoleon Hill's greatest works was Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. So that was literally his entire life study of 200 of the wealthiest people in the world, and actually teaching you how to create habits in your life where you can duplicate their success. And he was the very first person that I heard talk about the vision board. Mm-hmm. And in that, he basically said, and his books were kind of weird to read because they were written, back in the day. So it was kind of like trying to decipher the Bible a little bit, you know what I mean? But in a little bit more legible context, right? Mm-hmm. And he would say that the vision board was designed for you to look at and to make your muscles do the natural reactions that it would take to obtain these objects, okay? Mm-hmm. So basically, in a roundabout way, he was saying it was designed to look at it and inspire you to get off your ass and go do something to get it.
Yeah, we would always put, on ours, the one that we had, way back in the day. Remember, we would find, little inspirational quotes, and we would stick them up there?
Yeah.
We would get, the little, the Chinese fortune cookies, and we'd open one up, and it would just say something that we kind of felt like we were getting ready to get into, but it gave us further inspiration, and we always stuck it up there.
Right, yeah. Right. So it became a fun project.
It did.
And, the coolest thing about that is when you look at that, you're inspired. So you, like Napoleon Hill said, your muscular actions would take over and get you closer to that object or whatever it is that you're moving towards. Mm-hmm. And so people get it so wrong that that is literally look at and say, oh, wow, that's why I'm doing all this shit. Okay. Well, maybe I should get up and do something, or maybe I should work a little harder today, or maybe I should focus on my bigger goals instead of being reactive. How about instead of being reactive, I am proactive? Okay? Yeah. So instead of being busy, I'm productive. Mm-hmm. All right? Let's change some habits so I can get to where I want to be. All right.
Hey, I like how you said that instead of being busy, because sometimes busy can be a negative thing.
Oh, yeah.
And you said, productive. That's a very It's more of a positive way of looking at things.
We literally have to focus on that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
This society is almost, they're proud to say you're busy. Nothing makes me cringe more when somebody comes to me, a client or a customer, and they say, "Are you busy?" What am I supposed to look at them and say, "Oh no, man, it's been shitty. Everything sucks." And of course everybody's like, "Oh yeah, really busy. I am really busy." It's like such a superficial conversation, and every time I hear it, I'm like, "Ugh." I'm like, yeah, pretty fucking busy, man. All right, so the next thing that I want to jump into here, I also want to talk about, in the past, like I said, I mean, we had times in business where we struggled. We didn't understand exactly how to make it. We were just out there being very reactive. We were out there just trying to.
We were surviving.
We were surviving, and I really think there's a lot of businesses that are in that survival mode, right? Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you something very interesting. So we started creating these vision boards. We started doing marketing. I actually would I had enough time, right? So when you don't have enough business, the one thing you have is time. So I took that time and I started using it to work on myself and become a marketer back then. And it paid off, right? But in between then and now, at that time, we started, we had this, we actually didn't use QuickBooks at the time. So my wifey over here, right, she would write down line by line everything in a binder, okay?
No, it was a notebook.
Okay, just a notebook, yeah.
It was a 3-subject notebook. So I had 2 of them for the business account and then the personal account. But then I would, check the online banking like every day to make sure everything was accurate, but I wrote everything down. Still to this day, we use QuickBooks, but I still to this day I write everything down in a notebook.
Yeah, so we still write everything down in a notebook, right? But so here's an interesting thing. So I came to her one day, and I really started to believe in this stuff. Believe in the faith, okay? Like we're gonna have faith that things are gonna get better. Mm-hmm. Things are gonna become better. And we're going to start by writing it down, okay? So we're going to write this down. And I told her that, and she remembers it different than me, but either way, it's a very small detail. I told her to put an extra 0 on top of whatever we were doing. So if we had $7,000 in the bank at the time, we wrote it out like it was $70,000, okay?
Yeah.
Well, let's just say we had $7,221. We would write it as $70,221, okay? Yeah. So we changed it to where every day, and I remember sitting there literally with her, looking at the books, and I'm like, you got to believe it. You got to believe that that's what we have, okay?
Yeah.
And we would sit there, and I would get to the point where I would almost get emotional looking at it with happiness, right? Mm-hmm. Like I would begin to believe that we had that, right? And what I think that does is that opens your mind, that opens the doors, okay? Because the problem is when you're at a level where you're just surviving, you're dealing with probably a lot of self-sabotage. And at that time, if you do not believe that you can receive something, you could literally have an opportunity staring you right in your face, and you will sabotage that opportunity because you don't even believe that you deserve to have it.
That's true.
Okay? And the one thing that I learned from Think and Grow Rich with Napoleon Hill was that if you believe something in your mind to be true, it's as good as it's almost as good as the actual action of actually having it, okay? So it begins to open up these gates in your mind that allow that dream to flow through without being sabotaged by yourself. Mm-hmm. And you even begin looking for opportunities to make this dream happen because of your solid belief and your faith. It's interacting faith in your life, right? The other thing that I learned that was a very, very secret sauce was that you got to intertwine appreciation for what you have now, okay? The appreciation, the respect, okay, for what you have now. You got to blend that with expectancy and faith of what's coming to you, that dream that's coming to you, okay? And I kid you not, I'm sitting here in front of my bookkeeper right now. She tells no lie. Within 6 months of us doing that, we had that $70,000, $80,000 in our bank account.
Because we got hit with a huge hailstorm.
Sure. I mean, it was a series of business that came pouring in.
Yeah, that was.
And it was a series of business that came pouring in.
And don't you remember like another thing? Like we would always take drives on the weekend and drive around a certain part of town where we've always wanted to live, and now we're living here.
And now we live here. Yep.
It's kind of crazy how everything just kind of aligns itself up. But I mean, you are going to have the moments where you are going to slip, like, like the whole, was it sabotaging,
Self-sabotage.
Yeah, you're going to have those feelings. It's just of you having to, like, work out of them feelings.
And I want to say for me, that was like phase number 1 to get to the level we are today, right? Mm-hmm. Phase number 2 for me, okay, was more like finding people who already had the blessings that I wanted and reverse engineering exactly how they got there, okay?
Yeah.
Because, I do believe that each and every path has a law, okay? That, like, if you follow this to the T and you walk this path to the T, you're going to receive the abundance. I mean, this is a Tony Robbins thing right here. Tony Robbins said the quickest way to success is to find somebody that's already there and reverse engineer it and start applying the habits that are needed to become successful in your life today. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because truly, guys, that's all we have. We have either we have the difference between wealthy people and people who are not wealthy are the exact opposite habits that they've created or that they've formed in their life. Mm-hmm. All right? I mean, you could see it. You could lay it in front of you, all right? And I'm not talking about the wealthy guy who got all the money from his parents. I'm talking about a self-made man versus a very poor man. If you would look at the deepest level of the contrast between these two, it would be their daily habits. Mm-hmm. So you have to learn how to apply, to find out what are the habits. If there's somebody out there that has the blessings that you would love today, okay? You need to find out the habits they created in their life to get there. And I'm not telling you to act like them, okay? You're not going to get anywhere forming plastic relationships. I'm telling you to be you, but find the habits that it took to get them there and begin applying them one by one in your life. All right? And when I say one by one, is that one of the biggest problems you're going to have when you begin doing this is you're going to seek your perfect self. Your perfect self you're never going to find.
Yeah.
You will never find your perfect self. But what you can do is you can be committed to being better today than you were yesterday, okay? Mm-hmm. You can be committed to be better tomorrow than you are today.
That's right.
That's all you can ask. And if you can't do it tomorrow, forgive yourself and then start that commitment over again. Mm-hmm. Okay? You will little by little, you'll be putting one habit at a time into your life, and you'll see your life turn for the better. Mm-hmm. So that's all I have, y'all. All right. So anyhow, you guys, anything you'd like to say?
No.
All right.
I get mesmerized when you start.
Mesmerized. Hopefully I can mesmerize the audience out there like you.
I'm sure you can.
All right. Hey, and just a heads up for any of you locals around here, I will be speaking at the Dayton Social Media Marketing Event. So I'm going to be a keynote speaker. It's going to be on September 28th at the Mandalay. Probably going to be a couple hundred entrepreneurs there. So you guys are actually going to hear me
Wait a minute, is it the 28th or the 27th?
Oh, it's the 27th. That's on a Thursday. That's on a Thursday. End of the month here at September the 27th. I will be speaking at the Mandalay, and got a 50-minute speaking slot there.
I'm so stoked.
Yeah, I am going to set the whole place on fire. I doubt that anybody else will be remembered at that event. And I'm just playing with you. But it is. I'm going to give it my best. I've literally put together a sequence of what I'm going to be speaking about. And I'm going to be doing a lot of talk about the byproducts in your current business, okay? So the business inside of your business, and I'm going to talk a lot about how I took a very small automotive company and turned it into a 7-figure educational empire. And how I did that, basically being a high school dropout, being somebody that was, people would say, more likely to be in jail than create, than own your own business. So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of emotion that I'm going to bring to this, and I just hope to inspire some of the people out there that they can look at me and they can look at an individual who had to go through the struggles that I had to go through, that they could begin to believe in themselves and maybe live the life of their dreams. Mm-hmm. That's my goal. So, all right, y'all. I appreciate you, and as usual, I'm going to see you on the next one.
Remember, it's all about the hustle.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to the Marketing Revolution podcast. If you know somebody that needs this message, please share it with them. Please write us a 5-star review on iTunes or Stitcher. And remember, everybody wants to eat, but only savage marketers are willing to do the hunt. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.